Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nico, the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about big name players, the guys that just roll off the top of your tongue, the guys that everyone knows, the Joe Schmo knows. If you've watched football in the last year, you know who these guys are because they're the big name guys, and these are guys that they might have that big name, but I am not looking to draft, and I'm looking to avoid in 2021. Now, obviously, my mind can change from March all the way until August when a majority of you guys are going to be drafting. So if you want to stay tuned for an updated list, likely in June, July, or August, make sure you hit that subscribe button because not only is it free, I bring out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football League. I also talk about the NFL Draft and the NFL as a whole. Some of these guys I've made breaking news updates about, pretty much all of them, because they're on new teams or something has shifted onto their team that me no likey. So before we get into it, again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new, and if you are not new, please make sure to hit that like button. So let's get into it. We begin with Josh Jacobs, running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. Running back number 19 off the board right now. Now, Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, actually is a very good running back. To me, he has the potential to be like a top 5 guy in the NFL in terms of rushing yards because the guy doesn't really get that many catches, but he is one of those guys that gets a whole lot of work in plowing through the trenches. Now, the biggest issue is that Jon Gruden and the management of the Las Vegas Raiders does not believe in Josh Jacobs, which to me makes very little sense. They draft this guy in the first round. They draft him to be the workhorse running back, and they've seen him play pretty well 2 years in a row, his rookie year and his sophomore season in the NFL, and now they just said, I don't want you anymore. They threw the guy away to bring in Kenyon Drake. Now, I'm not saying that Josh Jacobs won't get used in this offense. He definitely will, but he's going to be as useful as a used fucking condom if Kenyon Drake is getting the split workload that I believe he is going to get. Now, reports came out yesterday that, hey, they want to use Kenyon Drake in the slot. They want to use him as a wide receiver. Well, that's cool, but he also plays running back, so he's definitely going to be taking carries away from Josh Jacobs, who played 15 games last year, finished as a top 10 running back in all categories, number 8 in PPR, 8.5 PPR, and number 8 in standard leagues, averaging 15.4 PPR points per game, 14.3 half PPR points per game, and 13.2 standard points per game. So Jon Gruden, riddle me this, what was wrong? What was wrong with Josh Jacobs to where you have to bring in Kenyon Drake? Josh Jacobs' stats last year were very nice. He was 62.9% snap share percentage, 14th at the running back position, rushed for over 1,000 yards, 1,064, number 8 at running back. He had 12 total touchdowns, 4th at running back, 45 targets, 238 receiving yards with 33 receptions. What was wrong with that, Mr. Jon Gruden? Frankly, I don't know, but what I do know is with Kenyon Drake in town, I don't really see any upside in Josh Jacobs. I think he's still going to get drafted high enough to the point that I do not want to take him. I'd rather take a shot at a guy in an offense where I think he will have a stranglehold of the offense and be the number 1 running back. This kind of tomfoolery by the GM, by the owner, by the fucking coach and Jon Gruden makes no sense. You drafted Josh Jacobs. He's played well. He has not played bad. He has not proved to be an injury concern based upon what I've seen in his NFL career, yet for some reason, you decide to throw him away. That's why Josh Jacobs is going to be a guy that I'm going to be avoiding. If there was no Kenyon Drake, then I'm sold in on Josh Jacobs, but as long as that motherfucker is touching the field on a game-by-game basis, Josh Jacobs will not be as good. He won't be getting as many receptions, that's for sure, because Kenyon Drake is much better at that than Josh Jacobs. I don't understand the move. I don't understand paying Kenyon Drake all this money when you have Josh Jacobs on a cheap deal, when your offensive line is fucking dog water because you let all of the good guys go. It makes no sense. The O-line being bad is worrisome enough, but the fact that there's another guy back there, Josh Jacobs, to me, is a no-go in 2021. Next guy up here, he moved as well. Will Fuller, wide receiver of my Miami Dolphins, wide receiver number 31 off the board as of current ADP. If I'm being honest with you guys, I like Will Fuller as a wide receiver, and I'm very happy that he is a part of my Miami Dolphins, but what I don't love is the fact that I just don't think that this is the perfect scenario for fantasy football success. It is a great scenario for the success of my Dolphins, but it's not the scenario where you have Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. There was reports that he was going to go to the Packers. There's reports that he was going to all these other teams that would have just been so much better landing spots for Will Fuller. I'm not saying that Will Fuller is going to be a straight up bust, but I just don't feel as though his value, where I think he's going to be drafted. Now, he's coming off the board right now as wide receiver 31, which is where I would be happy drafting him, but I think that that's just an overreaction to the landing spot. I think eventually he is going to climb those ranks. Now, there is obviously the potential that he gets drafted down here because of the fact that he's suspended for one more game to start off the season. He misses game 1. But I honestly think people are going to keep talking themselves into Will Fuller. He's going to move on up the draft board to the point where I do not want to draft him. I think he has a lot of upside, but the consistency of what he was in the Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson, at least last season, to me, is no more in 2021. In those 11 games he played before he was suspended for those PEDs, he finished as wide receiver 32, wide receiver 28.5 PPR, wide receiver 24 in standard, averaging 17.2 PPR points per game, 14.8 half PPR points per game, and 12.4 standard points per game. Now, Will Fuller was fucking amazing last year. This was like the first time we've seen Will Fuller play a healthy season, and that may worry me a little bit because maybe it was the PEDs that were keeping him healthy. He played 11 games in 2019, but not because he was suspended, because he always ends up getting hurt. This guy had 75 targets in 2021, which is 2020, which is 6.8 per game, 53 receptions, 4.8 per game for a grand total of 879 receiving yards and 8 total touchdowns, 13th at wide receiver. Now, I didn't want to mention the number of targets and receptions and receiving yards at the wide receiver position because, frankly, they would have been much higher, obviously, if he played all 16 games. Even if he played like 14, he would have finished much higher at the wide receiver position just due to the fact that he missed a bunch of games. So I think that Will Fuller does have the potential to be very good, but I don't personally love the landing spot. I think this actually helps, like, Devontae Parker, guys like Mike Gesicki. It actually helps them more than I feel like it helped Will Fuller going here. If he was on the Houston Texans and if Deshaun stayed, obviously, again, we don't know what's happening with Deshaun Watson, but then Will Fuller would have been really good, but I just kind of worry about the situation. I love the Dolphins. I love Tua. I'm just saying it's not ideal for fantasy football, at least in my opinion. Again, I may be wrong. I love the Dolphins, and I hope Will Fuller stays healthy and has a great year and we win the fucking Super Bowl, but I take my bias out of it when I talk about fantasy football. Next up here, we got Rob Gronkowski, tight end, I wrote, of the New England Patriots, obviously, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tight end 19 off the board right now. Now, Gronk actually finished as a top 8 tight end in every category. He was number 8 in PPR, tied with Noah Fant, 8.5 PPR, and 8 in standard in 16 games. Now, note how I said 16 games. That's the first full season Gronk's played in his whole career. Now, okay, that's not why I hate it. It's just because most tight ends are missing games, and he gets skyrocketed up there because he's missing these games, or because he's playing every single game, and the other guys are missing games. Only averaged 9.3 PPR points per game, 7.9 half PPR points per game, and 6.5 standard points per game. Now, if we mosey on to his game log, you guys will remember exactly what happened. Think about it. Try to remember Gronk's season, and it will instantly just collapse for you thinking about drafting Gronk, because Gronk, again, has a big name. P.S. guys, he's not going to get drafted as tight end 19. He's not. He's going to get drafted as like tight end 10 off the board because he's Rob fucking Gronkowski. The guy scored 2 tutties in the Super Bowl. He's a good tight end, but he just will not be getting that usage that he used to get in New England in Tampa Bay because they want him to block. Week 1, 3.1 points, followed by a goose egg week 2, then 10 points week 3, then 3 points, then 8, 18, 17, 14, then 1, 13, 4, 16, 7, 5, 19, 4. Okay? That's all 17 games. I'm not putting the teams to him. But what I'm telling you is that while Gronk will probably finish potentially as like a top 10 guy, he is going to be so confusing to start on a weekly basis because you don't know if this is the Gronk week where he goes out there and scores 3 fucking touchdowns, or if it's the week where Gronk's standing there blocking everyone and then you see Cameron Brate score a touchdown or OJ Howard and you're punching the screen just aggressively in fucking anger. I like Gronk. He finished pretty highly at the tight end position. Obviously, he had 77 targets, 45 receptions, 7 total touchdowns, 623 receiving yards. He'll probably be all right in fantasy football, but I just don't really see the upside in him. Because when I'm drafting an upside tight end, it's because I think they can do it game in, game out. Game in, game out. Rob Gronkowski is not going to do that, in my opinion. Now, obviously, it could go back to like how it was in New England, how it was in the Super Bowl, where Gronk scored 7 million touchdowns, but I just do not think that's how Bruce Arians sees this system and how I feel as though Gronk's season will go in 2021. Again, guys, if you feel any of these are wrong, let me know down below in the description. I love to talk to you guys in the comment section, I should say. Let me know in the comment section. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Very nice, as Mr. Borat would say. I like you. Next up, Kenny Bones, final player of the video. Kenny Golladay, wide receiver of the New York Football Giants. Wide receiver 18 off the board. Now, I love Kenny fucking Golladay. If you've been watching my channel since 2019, I've loved Kenny Golladay. 2018, when I made my first ever video, only ever made one video that year. I'm pretty sure I got on my knees and blew the guy. That's how much I fucking love Kenny Golladay, okay? That's a joke, obviously, but Kenny Golladay, to me, one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. The way he moves his body, it's just magnifique. He's amazing. But, just like with Will Fuller, this is the wrong situation. I think this is a good move for the Giants because he's a good wide receiver, and I think he'll be just all right in fantasy. But again, I think the name value is going to get people to buy in on Kenny Golladay. I think he moves up into the top 12. And then you're pissed when it comes to Kenny Golladay. I don't think he's going to have a terrible year, but I am just not really looking to draft him where I feel as though he is going to go inside of the 3rd round. He finished outside of the top 100 wide receivers last year because he only played in 5 games. Obviously, injury to Kenny Golladay is not too much of an issue, not an overall concern for me, but you got to understand that he has been injured in the past. He averaged 13.2 PPR points per game, 11.2 half PPR points per game, and 9.2 standard points per game. Now, I understand there's the narrative that, oh, he's going from the Lions that are a dumpster fire. The Giants are looking a little bit better. Now, I agree and I don't agree because he went from being down tremendous in games where they have to throw the ball. We have a quarterback that, in my opinion, is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL with the potential to be a top 5 guy or the best guy in the NFL on a game-by-game, or in a given game. That is Matthew Stafford. That's what he went from. And now he's with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. Now, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is a bum. I mean, I'm implying it because I don't think he's all that good. But it's a terrific fall-off. It's going from top 10 quarterback to a guy that may be out of the fucking league as a starting quarterback after this season. They need Kenny Golladay because they need to determine if Daniel Jones is any good. I don't think Golladay is really going to have a tremendous season, and if they draft Waddle, if they draft Kyle Pitts, if they draft Devontae Smith, whoever falls to them at their pick inside the 1st round, Kenny Golladay is going to be in a situation that is much worse than in Detroit. Worse quarterback and more competition around him. Much more competition because back then in Detroit, it was Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. The 1-2 punch. The 1-2 knockout punch. In New York, it's going to be Golladay. It's going to be Slayton. It's going to be Kyle Rudolph. It's going to be Evan Ingram. It's going to be whoever they draft. It's a crowded room. Now, again, I think Kenny Golladay can overcome this adversity, but I just do not like the situation that he's in, so I'm going to avoid him as of right now. Now, if we see in fucking preseason, Daniel Jones looks like the second coming of, I don't even know who, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, something. He's looking like he's slinging the rock. Green 18, said Hut. Maybe then, bam, I'm fucking rock hard. I'm drafting Kenny Golladay. But right now, I'm not all that sold in. And Mr. Kenny Bones, who finished the season with 32 targets, had 20 receptions, had 338 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now again, I think Kenny Golladay is a very good player, but I just am not sold in on the New York Football Giants utilizing Kenny Galladay's skill set because their quarterback, in my opinion, is fucking bad. So thank you guys all for watching. Giants fans, I apologize. I think you guys have a good team. I just do not like your quarterback. Most people don't like my quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, so it is what it is. Go Dolphins. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all. I hope you guys have a safe rest of your Friday, and make sure to have a fun weekend, and then we'll be back again with another video. Guess what? Starting Saturday in the morning, and then guess what? The next day, probably be another video. This is a video pretty much every single day. So if you do enjoy, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much for the support recently. We're nearing 12,000 subscribers. That's amazing. Can't wait till April. It's almost April. I love March because of March Madness, but April is the NFL draft coming up. So thank you guys for watching. More NFL draft content, more fantasy content. And once it hits June, July, August, full steam ahead, especially in August. You guys were like, oh man, Nick's crazy. He uploads every single day. Wait till August. Just wait till August. I upload like 3-4 times a day. The videos are going to get shot at you out of a cannon. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll just ramble on a little bit at the end of this video. I hope you guys, again, are having a great day. I had a great day today. Hopefully I'm having a great Friday. I love you guys all. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, good boy.